My name is Rachel. I am 45 years old and I am a dentist. I have my own successful dental practice. 10 years ago, I made a choice that changed my life for good. I married James, a great guy who has a 12-year-old daughter from his last marriage. I had a big apartment with a few bedrooms, so it was a good idea for them to live with me after the wedding. Emma, my stepdaughter, made it very clear from the start that she wasn't happy with her dad's choice. "Dad," she would say to me, "can you tell Mom I'm not hungry?" When she said, "your wife," it felt like a slap in the face each time. The first few months were very tough. Emma would bang doors, not notice me, and have fits that would catch the neighbors' attention. But I didn't fall for it. I decided to take a different path instead of punishing her or fighting back. One evening, after another of her angry moments, I knocked on her door. "Emma, I'm not trying to take your mother's place," I said through the door. "I really hope we can figure out how to get along." She didn't reply that night, but something was different after that talk. I began to treat her like an adult, not like a child who needed control or correction. When she made mean comments, I would reply in a calm and sensible way. If she wanted to talk to her dad instead of me, that was okay too. "Dad," she said one morning, "Rachel's pancakes smell really nice." It was the first time she said something nice about me, even if she didn't say it directly to me. 2 years after the wedding, things began to change. The change was not big, more like I was slowly melting away. Emma started talking to me directly, first asking for small things, then having real conversations. I included her in everything: family trips, weekend fun, and even funny movie nights at home. "Rachel," she asked one day, saying my name for the first time without anger, "can I go with you and Dad to the beach house this summer?" I saw the biggest change after Emma's mom, Linda, got married again. Linda focused on her own life and stopped making those small comments that would turn Emma against me. The phone calls that used to make Emma cry got shorter and felt more relaxed. Mom is not the same now. Emma said to me one evening while we were making dinner together, "She looks more happy. Less than text. I think everyone should get another chance to be happy, don't you?" Those words felt like a kind gesture, and I took them happily. While I watched her mix the pasta sauce, a recipe we learned together, I saw that we were finally becoming like a real family. When Emma got into college, I was quick to help with the tuition. James and I talked about it before, and it seemed like the right thing to do. We have really moved on from those early times of loud arguments and not talking to each other. The night before she went to college, we sat on her bed with half-packed boxes and lots of clothes around us. "I have something important to tell you," I said. "Listen, Emma," I said, "my brother David has that marketing company in the city. When you finish school, if you want, I can help you find a job there. This is a wonderful place to begin your job journey." She hugged me then. A real tight hug, not one of those strange side hugs we used to share. "Seriously, that would be great, Rachel. Thanks." When she was in college, we didn't see her as much as we wanted. She would come home for holidays and some weekends, but that's normal for college students. When she came over, I made sure to cook all her favorite foods. My lasagna that she finally said was better than her mom's, and those chocolate chip cookies she used to take from the kitchen when she thought I didn't see her. "What is the business management program like?" I would ask during dinner. "Are you still having fun in Professor Turner's class?" She would get really excited when she talked about her studies, her internships, and her future plans. Sometimes, while talking, she'd bring up going to see her mom. "I stopped by Mom's place last weekend," she'd say, then quickly add, "Oh, but you should see the project I'm working on for my marketing class." I never pushed when she changed the subject like that. Why would I? It was perfectly natural for her to spend time with her mother. Even James agreed. We'd settled into a comfortable rhythm during these visits. Emma would tell us about her classes, her friends, her part-time job at the campus coffee shop. I'd cook her favorite meals, and we'd all sit around the dining table like we used to, sharing stories and laughing together. You know, Emma said during one of these dinners, my roommate can't believe how lucky I am to have such a cool stepmom. She's always complaining about hers. Those words meant more to me than she probably realized. After all those years of struggle, hearing her casually refer to me as cool felt like winning an Olympic medal. James squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew he was thinking the same thing. One evening, as we cleaned up after dinner, Emma lingered in the kitchen longer than usual. "Rachel," she said, fidgeting with a dish towel, "thanks for everything. Not just the college thing, but you know everything. Time has a way of sneaking up on you. One day you're helping your stepdaughter move into her college dorm, and the next thing you know, she's wearing a cap and gown, receiving her diploma." As I watched Emma walk across the stage, I couldn't help but think about the apartment key sitting in my purse, waiting to change her life. The apartment had been my grandmother's. It wasn't huge, a cozy 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, but it was perfect for a young professional starting out. I'd been renting it out for years, but now I had different plans for it. Emma was chatting animatedly from the back seat about her friends' post-graduation plans. "Sarah's moving to Chicago, and Mike got that job in Boston. It's weird how everyone's spreading out across the country." I caught James's eye and smiled. She had no idea she wouldn't have to go anywhere. When we got home, I could barely contain my excitement. I'd asked the last tenants to move out a month ago and had the whole place professionally cleaned and painted. Everything was ready. "Emma," I said as we settled in our living room, "I have something for you." My hands were shaking slightly as I pulled out the keys attached to a small silver keychain with her initials. "What's this?" she asked, taking the keys with a puzzled expression. "An apartment," I said simply. "My grandmother's old place. It's yours now." The room went completely silent. Emma stared at the keys in her hand, then at me, then back at the keys. James's mouth had dropped open. "Are you serious?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Completely serious," I said. "You'll need your own place now that you're starting your career, maybe even a family someday." I pulled out my phone to show her pictures. "It's on Cedar Street, number 542. Everything's ready for you to move in whenever you want." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She lunged at me, wrapping her arms around my neck like she used to do when she was younger. "Rachel, I can't believe this. Thank you." James was next, pulling me into a tight embrace. "I love you," he whispered in my ear. "You're amazing, you know that." Emma was already grabbing her coat. "Can I go see it right now?" I left and gave her the address again, making sure she had it right. Of course, the keys work on both the building entrance and apartment door. Take your time exploring. "I think I'll stay there tonight," she said excitedly. "Is that okay? I want to get a feel for my new home." After she left, James and I curled up on the couch together. The house felt oddly quiet without her bustling energy. "Just think," I said, resting my head on his shoulder. "Someday she'll meet someone special, and they'll make that place their first home together." James kissed the top of my head. "And then we'll be grandparents, and you'll spoil our grandkids just like you've spoiled our daughter." Our daughter. The words made my heart swell. After all these years, all the struggles and tears and slow trust building, she really had become my daughter in every way that mattered. I was enjoying my day off, still basking in the warmth of yesterday's happiness, when my front door burst open with a bang that made me jump. Linda, Emma's mother, stormed in like a hurricane. "How dare you!" she screamed, her face contorted with rage. "Who do you think you are?" I stood up from the couch, my heart pounding. "Linda, what's wrong?" "Don't play innocent with me. Emma told me about your little gift. An entire apartment, really? She was practically spitting the words. You think you can buy my daughter's love? The accusation hit me like a physical blow. That's not what this is about at all, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I inherited that apartment from my grandmother. Oh, how convenient. Linda cut me off, pacing our living room like a caged animal. You just happened to have a spare apartment lying around, and you just had to give it to my daughter, knowing full well I could never match such an expensive gift. Linda, please. I attempted to explain, my hands raised in a pleading gesture. I love Emma. She's like a daughter to me. I just wanted to help her start her adult life. Love her. Linda's laugh was harsh and bitter. You've been trying to replace me since day one. First with the fancy vacations, then paying for her college, and now this. She stepped toward me, her hand raised, and I instinctively stepped back before anything could happen. James appeared from nowhere, grabbing Linda's wrist. That's enough, his voice was firm. You need to leave now. Linda yanked her arm free, her eyes blazing with hatred. This isn't over, Rachel. You think you're so generous, so perfect. Well, you can't buy a mother's love. Emma will always be my daughter, not yours, no matter how many apartments you throw at her. The door slammed behind her with enough force to rattle the windows. I stood frozen in place, my whole body trembling. James tried to pull me into an awkward embrace, but I couldn't relax into it. My mind was racing, replaying Linda's words over and over. Had I really been trying to buy Emma's love all these years? Was that what everyone thought? She's wrong, James said softly, but something in his voice sounded uncertain. You know she's wrong, right? I nodded mechanically, but inside I felt like my whole world had started to crumble. 10 years of building trust, of careful steps forward and occasional steps back, all reduced to accusations of bribery and manipulation. Emma showed up the next morning, looking like she hadn't slept. She shuffled into the kitchen while I was making coffee, barely meeting my eyes. Emma, about yesterday, I started. I don't want to talk about it, she cut me off, her voice flat. Without another word, she turned and disappeared into her old room. I stood in the kitchen, coffee pot in hand, listening to her door click shut. The sound felt final somehow, like a judge's gavel coming down. Throughout the day, I could hear her fingers tapping against her phone screen. Probably texting someone, her mother, I assumed. When Emma finally emerged for dinner, the silence had morphed into something worse. She pushed her food around her plate, phone still clutched in her left hand, before suddenly announcing, I'm throwing a graduation party at La Mion next weekend. Relief flooded through me, finally, a chance to move past this awkwardness. That's wonderful. I can help you plan everything. Lumi Zone is expensive, but we can. No, Emma interrupted, her voice sharp as broken glass. My real mother is paying for it. The way she emphasized real made my stomach clench. Not just mom or mother, but real mother, like she was deliberately drawing a line between us. Later that night, I told James about the conversation. The way she said, real mother, it was like she was trying to hurt me. You're reading too much into this, he said, patting my hand absent-mindedly. She's just stressed about everything that's happened. You know how Linda can get. But I wasn't reading too much into it. I couldn't be. Over the next few days, I'd come home from work to hear Emma's voice drifting down the hallway, cheerfully calling friends and relatives. The party's going to be amazing, she'd gush. Mom's rented out the whole restaurant. Yes, the fancy French one downtown. I'd stand in the hallway, key still in hand, listening to her make plan after plan. She called her cousins, her college friends, even some of our neighbors. But day after day, no invitation came my way. Each time I heard her on the phone, each new person she invited, it felt like another brick in a wall being built between us. A wall I hadn't seen coming until it was almost complete. One evening, I overheard her talking to someone, probably her mother, in hushed, excited tones. Everything's arranged: the menu, the decorations, the guest list. She laughed at something the other person said, and the sound twisted in my chest like a knife. It was the same laugh she used to share with me when we'd stay up late watching movies or cooking together. After 2 days of this torture, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I found her in the kitchen the next morning, drinking coffee and scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't been systematically inviting everyone except me to her graduation party. "Emma," my voice came out shakier than I intended. "Can we talk about the party? I haven't heard any details yet. What time should we?" "You're not coming," she cut me off, still not looking up. The word came out as barely more than a whisper. Now she did look up, and I barely recognized her expression. Her eyes were cold, her mouth twisted in a smile I'd never seen before. "You heard me. You're not invited." I gripped the kitchen counter to steady myself. "Emma, what's going on? Is this because of what happened with your mother the other day?" "My real mother," she corrected, emphasizing each word like a weapon. "And yes, she doesn't want you there." "Neither do I." "I don't understand." I pulled out a chair and sat down, my legs suddenly weak. "If this is about the apartment," she let out a harsh laugh that made me flinch. "Oh, I'm keeping the apartment. I mean, who turns down a free place to live? Consider it payment for all the years I had to put up with you and your perfect stepmom act." The room seemed to spin. "Put up with me? What are you talking about? Have you been suffering all this time?" "God, you really don't get it, do you?" She stood up, pushing her chair back with a screech against the tile floor. "I never loved you. You were just the woman who made sure my parents could never get back together. If you hadn't shown up, they might have worked things out. We could have been a real family again." Each word felt like a physical blow. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up helping her with homework, all the times I'd held her while she cried over boys, all the mother-daughter moments I thought we'd shared. Real family. My voice cracked. "What do you think we've been for the last 10 years? All those vacations we took together, the college tuition." "Yeah, throwing money around. That's your solution to everything, isn't it?" she sneered. The expression looked so foreign on her face. Fancy trips, expensive gifts, paying for college, and now an apartment. Did you think you could just buy yourself a daughter? That's not what I was trying to do. I could feel tears starting to form, but I blinked them back. "I did those things because I love you, because I thought we were family." "Family?" She laughed again, that horrible, mocking laugh. "My mom is my family. Dad is my family. You're just the woman who came along and ruined everything, and now you're trying to buy my love with an apartment." I felt like I couldn't breathe. All those years, was any of it real? "The party's on Sunday at 7, she said, instead of answering me, walking toward her room. "Don't show up. You're not welcome." The door slammed so hard, the photos on the wall rattled. Photos of us at her high school graduation, at Christmas at the beach, moments I treasured that now felt like elaborate lies. The coffee in my mug had long gone cold, but I couldn't bring myself to dump it out. It felt like dumping out the last 10 years of my life. That evening I waited for James to come home, my hands shaking as I rehearsed how I'd tell him about Emma's cruel words. When he finally walked through the door, the story spilled out between sobs I couldn't control. "I'll talk to her," he said immediately, heading straight to Emma's room without even taking off his coat. I sat in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee, waiting. The minutes crawled by like hours. When James finally emerged, I looked up expectantly, hoping for support, understanding, anything that would make this nightmare better. Rachel, he wouldn't meet my eyes, and my heart sank before he even finished speaking. Emma has some valid points. Maybe it would be better if you didn't come to the party. The world stopped spinning in that moment. 10 years of marriage crystallized into perfect clarity. I had been living a lie all along. You're still going. My voice sounded distant, unfamiliar, like it belonged to someone else. Of course, she's my daughter, he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, like I was stupid for even asking. I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Over the next few days, I played the perfect understanding wife. I smiled at breakfast. I made their favorite dinners. I pretended everything was fine, while my heart shattered into smaller pieces with each passing hour. Sunday evening, I watched them leave for the party. The moment that car disappeared around the corner, I sprang into action. The locksmith was already waiting at my grandmother's apartment. He worked quickly and efficiently, not asking questions about why I needed the locks changed so urgently. Within 20 minutes, I had new keys in my hand. Back home, I moved like a woman possessed. James's clothes went into suitcases, sorted by season and type, just like I'd always done when we packed for vacations. Everything stacked neatly by the door, ready for his departure from my life. Then I made myself a cup of chamomile tea, my favorite comfort drink since childhood. The familiar, soothing aroma filled the kitchen as I sat down on the couch and opened Instagram. Emma had already posted photos from the party. There she was, sandwiched between James and Linda, all three of them beaming at the camera like they didn't have a care in the world. The caption read, "So blessed to be celebrating with the people who truly matter." At midnight, I heard James's key in the lock, his footsteps in the hallway, then silence as he reached the bedroom and saw the suitcases. Rachel. His voice was sharp with confusion. "What's all this?" I took another sip of my now cold tea. "You need to find somewhere else to live." He laughed. Actually laughed, like this was all some silly joke. "Don't you think you're overreacting? It was just a party." Just a party? I set down my cup carefully, the porcelain making a soft clink against the coffee table. My husband and stepdaughter excluded me from a family celebration. You took her side when she said she never loved me. You watched her treat me like garbage and did nothing. My voice was steady now, certain. Expect divorce papers this week. The laughter died in his throat. Now, wait a minute, we can fix this. Fix what? I interrupted. The fact that you never loved me, that I was just a convenient replacement mother for your daughter, that you stood by while she threw 10 years of love back in my face. Before James could respond, the front door burst open with a bang. Emma stormed in, her party dress wrinkled, mascara streaking down her face. "What did you do?" she screamed. "Why can't I get into my apartment?" I took another sip of chamomile tea, my hand steady. "Your apartment? Oh, you mean my grandmother's apartment? You gave it to me. You can't just take it back." "Actually, I can," I said, setting down my cup. "Since you believe it was just a bribe to buy your love, I'm taking it back." "I don't bribe people." "You can't do this." Her voice cracked with rage and panic. "I can, and I did. And while we're at it," I said, "I called my brother this morning. Don't bother applying for that position at his company." I told him you're no longer part of the family. Emma's face crumpled. "That's so cruel. How can you do this to me?" "Cruel?" I stood up slowly. Cruel is pretending to love someone for 10 years. Cruel is taking everything they give you while secretly despising them. Cruel is excluding them from your graduation party and posting photos about your real family. James finally found his voice. "Rachel, you're being unreasonable." "No, I'm being clear for the first time in 10 years. I turned to face them both. This is my apartment. You are no longer my family. I want you both out now. Emma burst into tears and ran to her room. I could hear her slamming drawers and closet doors, crying and cursing as she packed. James kept trying to talk to me, but I turned up the kitchen faucet to drown out his voice. 30 minutes later, Emma emerged with her suitcases. Her face was red with fury. "You're a horrible person," she spat. "You're worse than I ever thought. I hate you." "Goodbye, Emma," I said calmly. "James, don't forget your golf clubs in the garage." They left, the door closing behind them with a final click. I stood in my silent apartment, breathing deeply for what felt like the first time in days. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Linda called 17 times before switching to texts, each one more hostile than the last. "How dare you take back the apartment, you manipulative witch? I'll sue you for this." James's messages were different, pleading, apologetic. "Please talk to me. We can work this out. I'm sorry about everything." Emma tried both approaches. "I didn't mean what I said. You're ruining my life. Please, Rachel, I'm sorry." I blocked them all without responding. 10 years of manipulation and lies had finally become clear. They used me for my money, my apartment, my connections. Well, no more. The divorce proceedings were quick, thanks to our prenuptial agreement. James tried to claim half of my assets, arguing about his contributions to the marriage. His lawyer's face fell when mine produced the prenup James had signed a decade ago. Through mutual friends, I heard they'd found a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Emma was struggling to find work without my brother's help. James had to sell his golf club membership to afford the security deposit. The apartment feels bigger now, emptier, but it's mine. Every morning I make my chamomile tea and sit by the window, watching the sunrise. No more cooking elaborate meals for ungrateful family members. No more paying for someone else's dreams. No more pretending.